Hey guys, this is Juan Rodriguez here, and I'm talking with Adrian, Garcia, Sharod, Ford, and Andrew. And we are Dungeon Born. And we just ran a session called the Tower of SKELLOS, so we want to know what happened. So I got questions for you.
Okay.
One, what did you think about today's session? Yesterday's session was... How was yesterday's session?
Yesterday's session was good. It was a little slow because I don't think the people that were coming in, which are a lot of young high school kids, a lot of young adults that were coming in, I don't think they knew where everything was at the first point. So we got stragglers that came in. But once they were there, if you had a group of 4 or 5, they stayed for the whole thing and they played very well.
What do you think, Rod?
My session was a little bit different because I wanted them to go into his room first. Those stragglers came in, and then all of a sudden, like a flood came. So I had about 10 people come into the room yesterday.
That's because your room was the first one to turn.
That's right, the first one. And I had the opportunity to kind of play for a while, and these kids, they're amazing. How it just shocks me that when we were younger, I don't think we thought the same way they did. They had teamwork. It was just an amazing time. They thought about each situation. I had dudes who had experience, 13-year-olds who were running games already. So just amazing to see that now this isn't such a shame on people like it used to be when we were younger.
Yeah.
So, I agree on that.
Yeah.
I think it was with our system of Dungeon Born, also we had pre-generated characters, which helped people come in. That was the plan. So we can get a turnover and everyone would get a taste of the game. Yesterday compared to today we were kind of overwhelmed. We ran at least, I would say, close to 30 people.
Yes.
Showed up, 10 in my group, 10 in his group, and then stragglers that were watching the games. But the cool thing about it is these kids really came to rock and roll and play. And Dungeon Born allowed them to get in quick. They got a taste of the specialties that we have for the game, and they enjoyed it. They really enjoyed it, and they really played well.
Andrew, what did you see? What was going on? People were like coming over here. What did you tell them?
I informed them about the game and saw if they were into role-playing games. And if they said yes, I told them where to go. Hopefully, that if they didn't know where it was, I explained to them what room, that it was 2 rooms. And it seems that they straggled in slowly. Plus,
did you get a chance to check out? Somebody fell over there. Did you get a chance to check out what was going on upstairs, or no?
No, I didn't. I was kind of just manning the table, making sure that I could give out as much information as possible.
Okay, but a lot of people did come over here, and you told them what was going on. Awesome. Now, today's session seemed to have started slow, but then something happened. What happened?
Well, in terms of the way and mentally, it's always one of the things is you have a fixed image of how the game is going to be, of course. But it's reality against what's going on in your head and everything. When you have, like yesterday, when you have stragglers that are coming in, you're thinking of having the whole group together at one shot. But sometimes you have to change the way you come at the storytelling dynamic, especially if you're having one at a time come in. So you can't just throw them at the tower that we were trying to do, which was a dungeon crawl or a major chronicle of encounters. So you had to build up. So I decided to do what we always do in Dungeons & Dragons, build them up in the inn. It set up the scenario, it set up what SKELLOS was, and from there, the people that came in who wanted to play were like, "Yo, we'll be back tomorrow." So when we got to here today, I had a whole fresh new group of people, but they came in a group. So excuse me. But since they did that, I was able to shorten up the amount of time, and it looked like they played together a little bit. Now, the people that came yesterday, since they were already in the tower, I could just, set up where they were coming in, they finished one thing, come together. So they would always come together in a certain point.
So it was like a continuation.
Right, I made it into a continuation. You don't necessarily have to start the whole game over again, especially if you think new players or old players are going to come in with new players. You just find the key to put them all together.
Good. That's classic. That's great classic DMing skills.
And also, one thing that happened today was I got a whole new group, but the one young man who played yesterday, he was one of my only 2 survivors. 10 people played yesterday, 2 survived. One of my only 2 survivors who had already seen 6 of the rooms. He was like, "I'm coming back tomorrow." he showed up early, and I was just like, can you do me a favor? Why don't you guide the others? And he was able to take that role on. He was happy with it.
Right.
He was like, all right, this is how you hit. This is how you do this and that. So him able to take on that role until we got through the rooms that he had already done. And I was like, all right, jump right in. And then he jumped right in, and it was just a fun time. So when you actually get kids who are willing to really be part of it and they're willing to help each other, like, it's that whole concept of like, you win with the party.
Right.
You don't win by yourself.
And they, in my group, the kids that I got, they were all different color spectrum. They're all different age groups and minorities and majorities. One thing that I liked about that is the kids that had played, there was 2 kids that had played, and he was a DM. He didn't know the system, but once they got it, since they had played, they knew a little bit, they started helping everybody else. They didn't know anybody. Like, these kids didn't know, a lot of them didn't know each other. But once they started running the game, yo, I do this with you, I do that. Yo, how we do this? They came together as a group. And hopefully, you know what, maybe if they meet together and stuff, they continue on and be friends and stuff and continue on. But they came, and that's the whole point of, you know, role playing. It's the whole point of Dungeon Born, to fight these adventures, be heroes together, and not be at each other's necks and do certain things. So
You mentioned culture. Both of you, you're Latino and you are African American. What do you think? Can you market to our culture? Because there was a lot of people from different cultures. You have Polish American, Italian American, Irish American, but you guys are bringing it to everybody.
Right.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think first is that when you write a good story that relates to people, it allows them to come in. So I feel like the system relates to, number one, just kind of like making it so that you can get into the adventure right away and enjoy it, right? But now if you add a good story, you add a good setting where some of these things happen that is familiar. Like, we have settings where a lot of those things are familiar.
Right.
How do you deal with 2 cultures that don't like each other?
right.
How do you deal with one culture that sees the other one as inferior? And there is that level of stuff that happens in a fantasy game, but now you bring it back to WoW. That also happens here as well. And now how do you deal with it? How do you come together so that you can beat whatever this evil is? And that's something that I think the teenagers, when they see that and feel that, will gravitate to.
Sometimes I don't think they even realize they're doing something that the game, the original game of Dungeons & Dragons, I don't think they even realize that it's all about cultures. Elves are different than dwarves. Dwarves are different than humans. Tieflings. It's all about different cultures clashing and not clashing in the sense of them battling each other, but coming together and smashing against each other so they can be a unit. You know, in our own world, it's very difficult to a certain extent to become a unit and to accept other cultures, especially nowadays. Especially our game, we don't say it that it creates that ability to become a unit, but it's innate. It's something they already grasp without even thinking about it. Sometimes you don't have to put it out there and be like, it's cultural. It's ingrained in it. Right? So, yeah.
Andrew, real fast, you joined Dungeon Born to be a part of the sessions. What inspired you to come into the game, like to play these games?
It's just a good concept. I like Dungeons and Dragons. I like role-playing games. And the way that Sharod and Adrian explained it to me sounded like a great idea. Why not do something that's different? Seemed a lot more simpler for people that weren't so big on math. Like, I like math, but there are people that don't. And it's not heavily like, all right, I need to know this. It's like, all right, here's my number. This is what I do. I can figure it out. Where a lot of times in D&D, it's not that simple. Sometimes like you have like 20 different numbers, and you're like, what do I do? And I feel that anyone who gets into this will pick it up real quick. They understand where they're at. If they have a little bit of questions, the rules explain it, and the way that they write they're starting to write the manual, it gives you step by step an example of how a player would put it together.
Interesting. It's really a lot of you guys, when you were talking about it, the session of friendship is in there. that's what brings a lot of the unity and everything like that. Now I got one more question, and then we're gonna wrap it up. SKELLOS. Who came up with that name? And number two, are we going to see that in production as a module?
Yes to all your questions, and I am the one that came up with the idea.
What the heck is SKELLOS, bro? It sounds like something I played
SKELLOS.
in the Melodics.
It is exactly.
Exactly.
Let me explain to those people out there who have never played. It's an old-fashioned game that was played in the urban areas.
Old street game.
And it's an old street game. I'm trying to be as culturally correct. It's a street game. It's called SKELLOS. What you would do is you would get a top. You would put wax, whatever, Play-Doh, whatever you needed, and then you would take this top, and there was a board of 13 squares. You would start from the first board, shoot it from 1 to 2, and just go around the board. There were 13 of them. So I've always loved the game, and I've always wanted to translate the game in a certain way or use it in that idea. When you really look at the game, go on Google and check it out. You look at it, it becomes a dungeon. And that you have everybody who's playing Skellies, it becomes a traveler in this dungeon. And they're going across and across. So my whole thing was to adapt it into a RPG. Now, I didn't know quite what to do and how to do it, so I brought it to my companions, my friends. And that's how SKELLOS came about. I had a definite idea who SKELLOS was, and a little bit I give to like Harry Potter with the Fantastic Beasts. When I saw that and I saw Skellies, I was like, there he goes. And then I was like, let me build a character around that exists in our Dungeon-born Grand Realm world. SKELLOS came out of that. And that's how the Tower of SKELLOS came about.
Okay, are we gonna see this?
Yes.
Okay, so we haven't gotten a date, we're just working on it.
We're working on, I would say, somewhere around June.
Okay, so guys, if you're interested and you want to try this out, get in touch with us, and we'll tell you about SKELLOS. Also, if you're interested in Dungeonborn, here are some of the things that you can see. This is our logo, and also we have another group called Tales of Vinlog. You can take a look at some of our stuff. There's also another session that we're creating for Dungeonborn. Again, thanks for watching. I'm Juan Rodriguez, and we are Dungeonborn. See you around. Peace.